Further ado, Ben Jackson started in 2007, and check this out, already 27 million in career sales. It got off to a fast start as a 15K fast starter. That's a lot better than me. He got to start with Trey Ketchum. Eventually as an AM, it continued his career there in that summer of 2008. Was the number 15 scholarship winner. Just a great start there. And then branched in Augusta in 2009, so went basically rep, and then AM, and then to branch. Pilot manager for Ketchum in 2011. Finished with the Cox School of Business at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. Major in finance and a minor in economics. So strong GPA, brother. Is this number right here? Saved $100K before your college graduation? I'm assuming that's debt-free graduating and having $100K in the bank. All right, there we go. So we could talk a little bit more about building wealth here in the business as well. Silver Cup here, it says, number one new DM in the company in 2012. 1.27 million in his first year. Man, Millionaires Club in the first year, was promoted to DVC. Not long after that is 2015. The following year was made the division manager for Coastal Division. Not only has he been part of the PR task force for its entirety, I think that's at least going back probably 6 years as of this year. But Ben Jackson is one of those, we were describing him yesterday as just probably one of the most abundant division managers that we have when it comes to knowledge. And so he's if he hasn't originated the program, which many of them he has, he's really been responsible for perfecting a lot of them and kind of iterating those, and of course sharing all the while. Open source would be one of the words that come to mind here with Ben. I would say he's got an expertise in making complex ideas digestible and easy to kind of wrap your brain around. So we're very excited to have him here today on the Masterclass. Without further ado, Division Manager from Coastal, Ben Jackson.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Guys, so I was talking to Trent about kind of what I would like to cover and what would be beneficial. And I shared with them a message that I gave at our Eastern Region kickoff that we had for the spring this past Friday. And it's on raising your PR game, which is 80% of our business in the Eastern Region. And I looked across the company, and 74% of our sales last year were either PR or social media related. So I want to start with that. And then I'm thinking at the end, we can dive into any concepts that were mentioned on it, do some Q&A at the end. But I'd like to start with that. I think you guys will get some value out of that topic. And then we can spend the last 25, 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, however long this takes us. Any questions you guys have on it, or anything that you would like to dive into specifically. So that's how we'll go. I know some people will be hearing this recording, but I'd like to focus on those of you who chose to be on live and interact with you guys. So thanks for introducing yourself and helping me to get to know you a little bit. So does that sound good? Give me a thumbs up. That works. Awesome. That's what we'll do. So let me start a screen share here, and let's see, you guys should be able to see that. And I'll share a couple documents with you guys throughout as we're going. I'll just drop them in the chat box. So Trent, they do have the access to see anything that's posted in the chat box, right?
Absolutely, they do. Yep.
Awesome. Perfect. So let me start here. And my first question for you is, 80% of our business, are you giving 80% of your recruiting energy to your PR program? And I would recommend challenging your staff with that question. Are you giving 80% of your recruiting energy, and 80%, when you look at your time, how much of your time on a weekly basis are you giving to recruiting versus sales? Okay. Maybe it's in our business, I think it should probably be a 60-40 split, at least 60% recruiting, 40% driving sales. Out of that 60%, what is that 60% broken down to? Is 80% of that 60% related to driving your PR program? And I would look at, if I were you and you don't know this number, I would look at for you last year, what amount of your total business was PR business. For us in the Eastern Region was 80%. In my division, in my pilot office, it was higher than that. Across the company, it was 74% last year. Do you know what the breakdown is for that for you in your office? So I think kind of three areas of focus when I think about driving your PR program and really raising the game, I focused on 3 areas when I gave this message, and I want to do the same for you guys. There's 3 things that I'd like to break down. I think one is utilizing conveyor effectively. I think there's a lot of lack of knowledge in the conveyor side of our business in terms of some of the adjustments that have been made recently, and I want to educate you on some of those. And I think there's also sometimes a lack of actual energy on the front side to maximize your effort that you can get on the PR side with conveyors that we're already paying for. We're investing money into. I'm getting a lot of feedback. If that person could mute out, that'd be awesome. But I think there's a lot of sometimes us not taking the front end, spending a little extra energy and time, and getting the reward throughout the week on the conveyor side. So we'll break that down a little bit. PR collection, PR conversion. So after PR collection, what can we do to more effectively convert on our PR conversion? So after we actually collect them in the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to days, I'm thinking about the fast start first, and then I'm thinking about 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks later, how can we best maximize that person's list that we collected? And then number 3, some weekly standards for yourself, your staff right now in the spring campaign. And you might each have you all have different size staffs. You might have different expectations currently for those people. I'm going to share with you what ours are and what I see for the Eastern region, and that we are, and a lot of you have seen the work that the Eastern region's done with the PR program, and hopefully taking a little bit of that at least gives you a measuring stick of kind of what you can either work towards or understanding what level you're currently in. So let's dive into these 3 areas. So let's start with utilizing conveyor effectively and thinking about how can we best maximize conveyor. Well, let's talk about what's currently happening first. Okay, here's what's currently happening in the conveyor world. Okay, in a lot of organizations, conveyor is basically being abandoned in a lot of offices across our Eastern region. And I know if it's happening in our Eastern region, and we're one of the biggest, if not the largest PR producers in the company, that we're probably missing this in a lot of offices across the US. And I think why that is sometimes we feel like we need to hold all the person's list because there might not be names for us to call, our AMs to call, our SMRAs to call if we send their list to conveyor. Thought process for you: if a list is sent to conveyor, and we all have different determinists and concepts on this, but I think for us in the Eastern region, sometimes we think if it's sent to conveyor, then we're not going to call that list again, which is kind of crazy. If the list is sent to conveyor, there's so many names that are unreached that we can then follow back up with. So what's happening right now with conveyor, there's been some massive adjustments that have been made, and we are recruiting substantially more people, but we're not really taking advantage of this conveyor opportunity. In the Eastern region last week, we recruited 279 people versus 131 people a year ago. But we're not taking full advantage of this conveyor opportunity. So what's causing conveyor results to be up? We're scheduling right now about double the amount of people that we were prior to these adjustments being made. Okay. In the fall, one of the big things that have been adjusted, I don't know if you know, does anybody know the biggest adjustments that was made by conveyor in the fall? Does anybody know what the biggest adjustment is? And kind of walk through.
They quit having them click on a website and started asking questions like our office conveyor reps do.
Exactly. So basically, Hans, thank you for sharing that. Basically, before, if they were interested, then they clicked on a landing page. So it took them to a landing page. They had to fill out a number of questions, and then they were scheduled. Well, what's happening now is if they express interest, they're starting to be scheduled right away. Hans, do you know the adjustment of what that's led to in terms of the increase in schedule percentage?
I actually don't, but I'm curious to know.
So it's doubled. It was before we were scheduling 2%. In the fall and spring, we were scheduling 2% of the people we sent a text to. Now we're scheduling 4. In the summer, we were scheduling 4%. So if that holds, we'll schedule 8% of the people that we send to in the summer, because that's pretty substantial. You send 100, texts, and you get 8 people scheduled from that, versus before we were getting 4 people scheduled from that. Do the math on that in a big, Rob, 619 recruits. What could that lead to in your organization, for this upcoming year? If you clean up and make sure that that is 100% airtight. I don't know exactly what yours looks like, Rob, but there might be 1 or 2 things that you hear that you're like, man, I can increase that. So this is an area of opportunity that cost us absolutely nothing. Okay. To do this the right way, we're already spending the money on it. It doesn't cost us any extra expense to do this the right way. So let me share with you what in my opinion, the process should be of what should be occurring to really maximize conveyor on a weekly basis. Okay. This is what I talk about in our division. This is what I talk about in the Eastern region. This is our process of what should be occurring. Is it happening perfectly in every single organization? No. But in the Eastern region, we're really working on this spring, so it's buttoned up before the summer. I would recommend doing the same for you. So I think the first thing that needs to happen is you should have an educated planning session, okay, coming out of your training class. We run Thursday, Friday training. We run a 2-day training. I understand some of you might be on still a 3-day training. We run a Thursday, Friday. We collect PRs it's 2 to 9 on Friday. So we're collecting PRs prior to 5 p.m. So this planning session could take place after 5 o'clock. It could be the DM if they're not running that section of training doing it. It could be one of their key head recruiters doing this, but there should be a planning session that happens either on Friday afternoon, evening after PRs are collected, or Saturday morning. And here's what that should look like. It's pretty simple. It doesn't take a lot of energy, but it gives clarity to what should happen for conveyor working through the week. Okay. So DM, what we do is the DM, if that DM is going to schedule, call it 10 PRs for the week, 10 times 5 is 50. If that DM is going to schedule 20 for the week, they need to hold 100. So we hold 5 per amount they need to schedule for the DM. We hold 7 for each assistant manager, and we hold 10 for each of our paid callers based on how many we want them to schedule. So I'll do an example of this here in a second, but that basically tells us, okay, based on how many I collect, here's how many I need to hold. Here's how many are actually going to get sent to conveyor right away. Okay. Then the next thing is there needs to be somebody prepared either on Friday afternoon or Saturday morning. We like to do this on Saturday morning. Somebody's prepared to go through and manage the duplicates, check the names submitted to the system before conveyor. We have if you need a video on this and you need somebody to help you with teaching somebody how to do this and you want to make this easy to teach, if any of you listen to this and you're doing this yourself right now, this is something that's really simple to have somebody else do. So if you're not getting PRs sent to conveyor because you're not able to do the management of the duplicates and all that earlier, hand that off. I've got a video on my Google Drive that we teach somebody how to do that. They learn, we're on and do it with them for 1 or 2 times, and then they're doing it on a weekly basis. This is not a difficult thing to have somebody else do. And then we like to send by Saturday at 1 p.m. for our first round. The reason I like to send by Saturday at 1 p.m. is it gives them more time to be scheduled for that cycle. And then conveyor is also going to send a follow-up text message about 24 hours after. So if it's sent on Saturday, they get a follow-up on Sunday. That makes our Monday, Tuesday interviews really set up to have some big sign days early in the week. Okay. That's the first part of it. Okay. Let's do a quick example. Trent, I see you unmuted. Do you have a thought or a question?
So Hans has a question here in the chat, just asking, do you know how, I think when he says that compares, I think he's talking about the 4% conveyor conversion compared to AMs managing your conveyor. Did I get that right, Hans? Maybe you can clarify there for us.
Yeah, I have one assistant manager who all she does is manage conveyor. So we don't send anything to the actual bot system. But I'm wondering how that conversion compares. Is there a benefit to having somebody manage that?
You would have to look at her show percentage. The way you would break that down is look at, okay, if I have her, she's doing office conveyor essentially, Hans, is that correct?
Yes.
I do know that with this adjustment, it is making it a very strict comparison between the company conveyor and what people are using with office conveyor. Before office conveyor, you would look at and go, hey, if I want to take the manpower for somebody to handle this, it's worth it to do. Now with the adjustment, it's a coin toss depending on what that person's show percentage is, because I mean, conveyor's getting low 40% show. So depending on the territory for these, it's usually like 42 to 46% show.
Wow.
And in some in the summer, it's close to 50%. So it depends on what the show for conveyor is for your territory, what the show for that assistant manager is. But I can tell you it's rivaling now with the adjustments that we've made compared to what it was before. So
Could I suggest, Ben, that we probably need to look at more than just then what their show is? Because I'm imagining even if their show is 60%, which is pretty strong, there's still a point of diminishing returns where if conveyor's going to get 40+% there, what else could that AM be doing?
Yeah, 100%. You need to look at, I would look at two things specifically to answer the first question is what is their show? And then what also, out of 100 texts that are being sent, how many are they actually scheduling? So what's their schedule percentage out of 100 texts? What's the show? So how many are they actually getting in the door? And Hans, maybe you look at this over the course of, the next 4 weeks, make a decision on this prior to the summer. Hey, but over the next 4 weeks, hey, I've filtered, I don't know, a couple thousand names to this office conveyor. How many people did actually get me in the door? Or how many did actually get me in an Apex interview? And then if it's close on this side, and I can have that assistant manager doing something more effective, as Trent's referencing, that you gotta make that decision. And for me, that's a no-brainer. If I can get very close to the same numbers and have that person be able to recruit more people on social media or give them more active work that they can be doing.
Yeah, until conveyor can PC your reps, you probably want to have it recruiting. That's great. Another question here is from Johnny St. Pierre up in Canada. Have those conveyor adjustments happened already in all regions? And I'm not sure if, Ben, you can answer that.
I'm pretty sure this is company-wide.
I think it is across the board there. That's great.
In any references that I've had conversations with Fred or Mike or anybody about this, it has not been ever referenced that it was only a test in the Eastern region. I'm pretty sure this is company-wide.
Excellent. Appreciate you coming up for air here, Ben. Questions, folks? Go ahead and keep dropping those in the chat, and I'll just interject where it makes sense. We might need you to clarify. Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Ben.
So just a simple example, kind of looking at this, if a DM is going to set 80 for right now for the spring, and that's their human set number, okay? They've got 30 hours of recruiting help, plus they have a couple AMs they're scheduling. Let's say the DM's scheduling 15, they hold 75 there. Let's say the AMs are scheduling collectively 20, one scheduling 10, two others are scheduling 5. These are 3 part-time AMs. They hold 140 there. Recruiting helpers, they have 45 set. We do 1.5 per hour of calling hours or total hours. We have some of those are actually social media hours, but we plan on 1.5 scheduled per paid hour that we pay out. So that would be 45 set. They hold 450 there. Let's say that adds all up to 665. Let's say they collect 1,000. So we would send 335 immediately. So on Saturday, we would send 335. What would that lead to? We'll do the math. Right now, we're getting 4 in the door for 100. That would lead to another probably 13, 14 people scheduled, by Monday. And we would probably have, 5, 6, 7 of those maybe in the door. We're signing another 4, 5 PRs on Monday simply because we did this. I know that there's offices in the Eastern region that are missing out on those numbers. So that's one thought. Okay. What else should be happening as a part of the weekly process? We like to let the rep know when we're working on their list. I think if it's coming out of nowhere that you're working on somebody's list on their PR list, I think that's where people get a little frustration or confused about the PR program. We like to let people know when we start to work on their list. Feel free to take a screenshot of this text. This is what we send out when we start working on somebody's list. This is what we let them know, and just how to handle it. So we basically say, hey, we wanted to give you a heads up. We're going to start reaching out to some of the people that you recommended. Hey, 10% are going to be super thankful. 10% are probably going to be like, what? You recommended me for something? And 80% are probably just going to have some questions for you and want to know it's legit. Just want to give you a heads up. Not every day will somebody be reaching out and asking you questions about the job, but just want to thank you for helping to build the team. We really appreciate it. Hey, when your friends reach out, this is a great response. Yes, it's legit. I'm working right now. Check it out if you want. I like it. I thought you'd like it too. And then we send them a screenshot of our PR team builder contest, just so that way when they have people reaching out to them, they're actually tied in to getting people to come to the interview and responding positively, as opposed to being frustrated that they got a text. It just switches their mentality for how they're approaching that. So that's what we like to do there. That's one thing that we think really helps on the conversion side as well. And then the last thing that, on the other side, after the front end on Conveyor, is we're going to start working on these lists. We have big PR days on Sunday, Monday. By Monday evening, Tuesday evening, we have a really good idea of which PRs we're not going to get to that we held. And what you want to make sure that you do is you have another round of sending. So what we like to do is on Tuesday at the latest, Tuesday afternoon, evening at the latest, I personally like to do some on Monday, some on Tuesday, but at the latest by Tuesday, 4 or 5 o'clock, we send another round to Conveyor for anybody that we've called their list and we haven't reached them and we're not going to be able to call it again. Or we held it and we know we're not going to get to it just because maybe we created more Google Forms, we got more people interested that week than we were planning on. So we do another round on Tuesday afternoon to send to Conveyor, so that way they can be scheduled for Wednesday interviews. If it's sent after 7 p.m., by the way, on Tuesday night, that text won't go out until Wednesday. So it is helpful to get it done, midday on Tuesday or 4 or 5 o'clock, so it actually gets out. Those people can be scheduled for Wednesday if you're running a Thursday, Friday training. So those are a couple of things, Conveyor, just to get your mind moving a little bit on how you can implement some things on Conveyor and how you can get some free wins with zero cost on Conveyor. Let's talk about post PR conversion.
Real quick here, Ben, before we move on from Conveyor,
Yeah.
one of the questions I just received in private chat is, how do we reach out to get aggregate company Conveyor stats? So, for example, if we just look at Vector Live, apparently we're not able to see how many names were sent necessarily. You have a thought here?
Yeah, so there's a report that some people don't really know about that's very beneficial in Vector Live, PR efficiency statistics. If you do not look at that on Vector Live, that's a good report to look at. It will tell you a lot more than a lot of people know about their current PR program, PR efficiency statistics. John, what's up, dude? It's good to see you, man. That's a great report to look at. And then you can always, if you want to get like specific Vector Live information, something you can't find, call Vector Live, email Vector Live, and tell them exactly what you want to report, and they can pull it for you. Don't reach out to Fred and say Ben said to get this report. Instead, reach out to Vector Live, let them know what you would like, and they will get it to you, what information it is that you want. So Fred's got this project he's kind of working on right now called Vector Impact that we all want to work very effectively. So
we want it fast, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be best to work through Vector Live. But PR efficiency stats, that's a great report that a lot of people don't really know how to use. I would check that one out. That one's one I like to look at.
So we have in the chat as well, apparently conveyor won't send after 6 p.m. if you're on Pacific time. Is that real? Give me some nods here. Is that a thing?
That is correct, because you could have East Coast numbers that you're sending after 9 p.m. So it won't send anything over after 6 p.m. So if
So
you want
I
to send
think
stuff,
ours is 7, so y'all's might be 6.
yeah.
So, that's just keep it in mind. It's like,
Mm.
Okay, so when are you doing it? And I don't even like the idea of waiting until Tuesday at 6. Like, think about, but if on Tuesday morning, what PRs you're going to call for the day and what calls are going to be made to which SMRAs. So I don't even think you need to wait until 6. I think that can be done on either Monday night or earlier in the day on Tuesday, because you have a good idea by that point of what you're gonna send. But I mean, worst case scenario, even if it got done on Tuesday night and then they were sent out on Wednesday, they still have a shot to get in same day interviews, which is easier now than it was before because they're not having to go to the office.
Yes.
So I think just being aware of the timing on that.
This is great. Keep these questions coming in the chat here, folks. Really appreciate that. Thanks, Ben.
Cool. All right, so a couple things in terms of post PR conversion that we do after we collect. I want to make sure that I'm scheduling and we are getting our top people scheduled ASAP. So here's some things that we do. Number one, we like to reach out to their top 5 immediately. Like when I say immediately, I'm talking about Friday after we get their PRs collected. I'm talking Saturday morning. The earlier, the better, reaching their best people. Okay. So what we do, and right now we're running a lot of divisional training, is we actually have them do some work on their PR list and training. Not a lot, but here's what we do. We have them brainstorm their top 5 people. We have them literally write down their top 5 people after they start and they went through the app and they've submitted all their PRs. We say, hey, there's going to be a lot of people that you recommended that we're not going to be able to contact right away. It's going to take some time. So we'd like to brainstorm a little bit. Hey, who are the top 5 people that you'd like us to reach out to as soon as possible that you would be most excited to work with? They brainstorm, and then we have them send a 3-way text message. This 3-way text message we do in training. It takes about 5 minutes to do. They brainstorm it. They do a 3-way text with their top 5 people. Hey, I want to introduce you to my manager. I think you'd be a great fit for an opening we have on our team. He'll give you all the details. Good luck. How this started for me, I had a pilot sales manager, not last summer, but the summer before, that kept giving me the excuse of, hey, I'm taking a lot of PDI. I can't get as many PR scheduled as I want. I said, I'm going to make it real easy for you. And all I did in training is I did this, and her phone started blowing up with all these people that were ready to be scheduled. And so by Saturday, Sunday, it made it really easy for her to get her PR scheduled because it was the best people going right to her phone and her inbox, and they were ready to be scheduled. And it just made it so easy for her to do that we started doing this across our whole division, and a lot of people in the region do this currently as well. I think there's some people that don't do this in the region just because they don't really have the time in their PR talk. It depends on who it is in the Eastern region, but all of our managers in the Coastal Division do this. It's a really easy thing. And then we also teach them how to handle their friends reaching out, just what to say, the 10-80-10 concept of 10% are going to be really appreciative. 10% are going to wonder why you recommended them, and they're going to be a little frustrated. And then 80% are just going to want to know the job's real and it's legit. That's the first thing that we do that helps us to get their top people right off the bat, really simply. And it starts also this concept of getting them involved in the PR program. I want to create this concept of partners. I want to create this concept of we have a partnership of building the team and building the organization, not I'm asking you for numbers. Thank you for giving me numbers. I want to create this dynamic of this partnership where they really feel like they're helping to build the team and they're working towards something that's bigger than just themselves. So let's move to Advanced Training 1. On Monday, during Advanced Training 1, here's our process for building the team builder program in Advanced Training 1. Okay. The first hour of advanced training one for us is all about team building. Okay. And what we do during the first hour of advanced training one, I'm just going to give you a couple bullet points of the feel and the flow of it. We start with just welcoming them to advanced training, recognizing how much their team has sold for their first weekend. We also thank them for recommending people in training, and we recognize how many people we've already scheduled. Hey, you guys recommended blank number of people. We've already scheduled X number. Hey, I just want to recognize, bam, 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 these people have already gotten 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 friends scheduled so far for interviews. Really, really cool. So we do some recognition of that. And then we transition into a team builder promotion talk. And what I mean by that is we just share 5 reasons that people want to become team builders in our organization. And I just posted in the chat box for you the team builder promotion talk, and then a day 4 PC that I'll reference here in a second. But it's essentially 5 reasons of why we want to have team builders. And I'll put that third bullet point up there. So why does it make sense for people to team build? What are the 5 reasons why people want to team build in our organization? So we do that. And then we start actually taking action on building their team. We share with them that there's 3 phases. One is calling, and that's the most least efficient way. And what I mean by that is, hey, if they recommend 100 people, well, out of those 100 people, we're not going to reach a lot of them via calling. There's going to be a lot of people that we call that don't answer. Out of 20 calls, we usually schedule 2 people. Out of 5 3-way texts, the heads up 3-way text, we usually schedule 2 people. So it's 4 times as efficient when you help us introduce them and you get involved in the process. And then also the easy one is social media, which will teach you how to take some action on that. And then we take some action by having them send 5 to 10 more 3-way texts. So we're basically kind of working through their list. We want them to introduce us. Not the people that they recommended in training. These are 5 to 10 more people. We have them do social media posts on all their social media platforms. We give them the content to do. And then we also teach them how to do Snapchat direct messages. And those range between, some people do 10 or 15, some people do 50, some people do 200, some people do 400. We do an Uber Eats contest where they can get Uber Eats delivery. Every 5 3-way texts they send is 1 entry. Every post they put up is an entry. And then every 50 Snapchat direct messages is an entry. So, we teach them, and they're kind of doing it as we go. So we teach them how to we review the 3-way text, they do that. We do the entries. We do social media posts, they do that. Then we do Snapchat direct messages, then we do that. We take a little break before we start instruction. So there's a lot of activity. This creates a lot of Google Forms for us of people interested, and a lot of responses via 3-way text. Ron will share with you, it's pretty easy to schedule PRs when people are sending you 3-way text messages after advanced training, and the Google Forms blowing up from what we created in advanced training. It makes it pretty easy for a manager to set their PRs that they need to set and move that program. So that's advanced training 1. I'm going to go to kind of rep targeting post advanced training 1, and some things that we do there for rep targeting post AT1 as well. I'm getting a question before I move into this next one. Trent, I just saw it pop up. I haven't read it.
No problem. It looks like Lindsay's got it. Question for you, Ben. I assume it's similar to handling "let me talk to my friends first" with customers, but in training with reps, how would you handle a rep saying, "let me text my friends first" before we do the 3-way text?
I've never gotten that, ever. And I'm not saying that feeling is not there for some people, but what I am saying is they start doing this in training, so that's already like something they're doing, and they did 5 in training. So if somebody doesn't want to do it, they don't feel pressured that they have to do it. Like, I only see the positive responses. We don't have people engaging like, "Hey, Lindsay, why didn't you send your 3-way text messages?" We'll notice that, and we can work on that with somebody individually if we feel like we need to, if they're one of our best people. but I never have it's not like open for somebody to raise their hand. We call on them in the middle of advanced training. Hey, I want to talk to them first. That we don't open that up for that to ever happen. So if somebody does feel like that, they just don't send the three-way text messages. And there's so many recruits in front of us that honestly, it kind of gets lost in the mix, and it's not really I'm not worried about it. I'm more worried about the teaching the people who want to engage in it and focusing on that. So cool. Does that help, Lindsay? Awesome. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about rep targeting post AT1 and some things that we do there. The first thing that I think has to make it in your staff meeting, your weekly staff meeting, if this is not happening, this is an easy portion of your staff meeting to add on. Just this question. Hey, who are the top people on the team we want to duplicate this week? Who are the people on the team that we want more people like? And then what we do, if that person's out of their fast start, what we do is we assign specific assistant managers to target them to join them for part of their PR time, either early Sunday, early Wednesday, a rep-driven PR PC on their office day where they're leading the team. And what do they do with that person? They pull up their PR list on Vector Live. They show them how many people they recommended, how many people we have not scheduled yet, and they do a round of three-way text messages. They could do that multiple times, multiple opportunities before they do Snapchat direct messages, social media posts, social media messages. Social media posts and messages, I would say, are like after they've met with them 3, 4, 5 times, because their first ones, they're just working on three-way text to work through their list for anybody we haven't hit. So that's kind of our menu of how we work on that with them for an AM to sit down on a Zoom session. They jump in and they do a 30 to 45-minute Zoom session to help them build their PR team. We also offer bonuses. We want to get people excited, and we don't do this for every rep on the team because we have a team builder contest for levels 2, as they get a Yeti cup or a Chick-fil-A gift card. 4 friends on the team, they get a $150 shopping spree. 6 friends on the team, they get a $250 credit. Could be a shopping spree, could be a experience, something they want to do. And then once they get 10 friends on the team, they get a $500 travel voucher. So we have that, but our best kids sometimes are not as excited about that. Our best kids are sometimes excited by cash contests. So sometimes we'll, get a really, good kid, somebody we want more of their PRs, and they're not really excited about the PR program. And we'll say, hey, I got $500 in Venmo credit for you. Every PR that you get, you've got 5 weeks to do it. You get $100 cash once they get accepted onto the team and they hit their first promotion. I've done contests before where we do $1,000 cash for somebody that recommends a 10K fast starter, and I give them 2 weeks, and I say, hey, you've got 2 weeks, $1,000 cash, here it is, and I'll literally hold up like $1,000 in ones. It looks pretty cool. They get excited about it. And that's something that you can do, right? So whatever your team needs, and I think sometimes we promote this at a team meeting and we think it's going to move people. You can promote something at a team meeting, but then you need to follow up with the people you really want to take action on it, right, and help them to do it. So we definitely do contests. And then our new training class, we do a day 4 PC. This takes place either on Monday or Tuesday. I sent you guys the outline. In that PC is essentially mapping out their fast start, following up from their first weekend. It's about a 15-minute PC. Your top 2 trainees, I would make that a 30-minute PC. And then the second 15-minute portion is all about team building with that person and helping them to get more people on the team that are just like them, that you're excited to work with them. So the extra 15-minute portion would be getting them kind of tied into the team building portion, with your best kids in the day 4 PC. The day 4 PC is not meant for PRs. It's meant for following up on their first weekend, mapping out their fast start, but obviously take that as an opportunity with your top 2 people to get some valuable PR time with that person and kind of get them thinking the way that you want to be thinking with PRs. And then the last thing that I know a lot of you out in the Western region, I know there's a few of you in the Western region, I've heard have done some great stuff with this. I have personally not done a lot with this, but I know in Bay Area and I'm thinking about Powders and Dave Powders and his division. I know you guys have done some great work with this. Weekly PR parties. Y'all call them snap parties. We've definitely done rep-driven PR sessions where we invite groups to and we work on their PRs. But I think something that a lot of the people on the West Coast have done, or they call them weekly PR parties for Snapchat. And they get people on and send 200 or 400 or 600 Snapchat direct messages. So, there's 4 things that I gave you here that, could be actions. Could you pick one of them that you're not really moving in your organization right now that could be really beneficial? I'm telling you, if you just said, okay, I'm going to implement day 4 PCs, that right there would help you with the retention of your reps. If you're having trouble getting people to their first team meeting and getting people to their first paycheck meeting, implement the day 4 PC. If you want to duplicate more of your top people out of the training class, add that 15 minutes into the day 4 PC, and you're going to create a bigger PR culture coming right out of their fast start. So those are some things post AT1 that we do. Just referencing the team meeting. I don't want to take too much time on this, but just a couple ideas for you at the team meeting. You need to have your reps post on Wednesday nights. We do our team meetings on Wednesday nights. What could they post? Are you creating opportunities where they can post? Well, we have our reps post is, maybe a picture of the Zoom screen with people jamming or doing something fun. Top paychecks, we always reference those for the week. We have one slide, we have pictures of the top paychecks. We also like to have an assistant manager post, tag all of the people that were the top paycheck earners so those people can repost it on their stories. Looks more authentic. As opposed to them bragging on themselves in their story. So that can be beneficial. Recognizing PR prize winners at the team meeting. And, anybody who's hit that level 2, 4, 6, 10 is what we do. You might have different PR levels that you're doing, but recognize those at the team meeting, bringing attention to that specifically. And then, this is something I think is a lost art. I know it is for us. But we used to have these team meetings at the office, right? And then when somebody finished up phone jamming, what did they do? Well, they were there. They were there with the team. Right now, they finish up their phone jam and they're kind of just done because they're on Zoom, right? Could you have one person, either an RA or an AM, that's dedicated to driving PRs on Wednesday night, the team's together? So maybe that person gives out the prizes at the team meeting and says, hey, by the way, after you finish your phone jam tonight, I want to meet with the following 2 people, and I'm going to help you get a couple more people scheduled for interviews. So as soon as you finish booking your schedule, we're going to get together. And that person's job is to schedule 5 of the best PRs from the best people that you want to schedule, right? We used to do that. And I think that's been a loss in our virtual world for those of you that have had experience in team meetings in the office. I think that's been lost, and something I think would be easy to rekindle and wouldn't take a lot that we could bring back. Last thing I want to talk about here is weekly standards in your organization. And I think the first thing that you got to decide is, number one, do you have them? Do you have weekly standards for your PR program in your office? If the answer to that question is yes, good. Does everybody know what they are? Or do you know what they are and other people aren't really sure? So number one, do you have standards? Number 2, does everybody know what those standards are in your organization for PRs? And then number 3, what is your system for accountability if somebody's not holding up to that standard that you expect, right? So what does that look like in your organization, and what do those conversations look like? So in our Eastern region, this is what our targets are for human set PRs for the summer. So 10 weeks in the summer, the key kind of most important recruiting weeks, this is what our expectations are for our different levels of organizations, okay? This is what we will be doing for human set PRs. Our pilots will schedule about 200 to 250 human set PRs. Our branches will be scheduling 60 to 80 human set PRs. And then we have different levels of district managers depending on the size of their staffs. All of our DMs will have between 40 and 60 hours of paid calling. Our branches will have 30 to 40. Our pilots will be in the range of 60 to 80. That's what our standard is and what our expectations are in the summer. So I think about for a new district manager, I know there's a lot of numbers on this slide. You don't have to look at all of them, but look at the bottom. So if you look at the left side, this is my vision for what a new district manager should be executing in the first 10 weeks of the summer, in the summer for their personal set and their office set PRs, okay? So May and June, they're scheduling 20 per week. Their teams are a little smaller. July, August, they'll schedule 10 per week. As their teams are bigger, they get an SC2. They'll schedule 240 PRs personally for the summer. That'll equate to about 35 PRs launched with using some numbers of what we got, what I think we're going to get, what I'm seeing right now, very close estimates to what I expect for us to get in the summer. That'll yield about 70,000 in CPO with a 2K PPR. That means that work for that district manager is worth $120 per hour for them scheduling PRs. When you break it down, that's what it's worth to them. The recruiting helper set 40 to 60 hours, 60 to 90 set. Okay, I'm using a 35% show there. Look at sign launch. It's about 48 to 72 launches with 1,500 PPR to 2,000 PPR. I think this is going to be closer to 2,000. Eastern region, we got 1,900 PPR in the Eastern region last summer. We didn't even know we were doing virtually. We were just trying to get some PPR. So I think it's going to be higher, but that'd be 150 with a 2K PPR. So that's a new district manager. That's $220,000 right there. $220,000 if they just do those two things. If they just execute on their personal set and the recruiting helper set, right? And the rest will be scheduled by conveyor. That's if they don't have a staff. Well, then you look at a district manager with a staff, right? And you say, okay, what should they get? And this might apply more to some of you. You know, in the summer, I got a district manager. I'm looking at an organization with a district manager, Dom, and 3 a.m. setting PRs. The district manager schedules 200 for the summer, same as a new DM, except 20 per week 20 per week for 2 a.m.s, 200 to 240. The Dom schedules 20 per week, for 8 weeks, 2 weeks at 10 when SC2 starts. 3 a.m.s, they combine for 100 apiece. That's 300. All in all, that should yield us approximately 140,000 in manager set PR business. That's $22,000 to $25,000 in overrides for that manager. Recruiting helper set another 75 to 150,000. We're talking 300,000, close to $275,000, $300,000. And by the way, I think it can be much higher than this with higher PPR numbers from that arena. So that's the importance of it. And I guess my question is, what are you doing right now? If that's your vision, and that's my vision for our team. So what are they? I'm thinking about, okay, what are they doing right now to be setting their habits up for this? What is our management team right now doing on a daily basis to set this up the right way? And here's our weekly standards. For us, this is what we tolerate, okay? In the Eastern region, if an organization is setting less than 30 PRs per week, they are a D, okay? They are horrible in their PR program, okay? Not good, okay? In weekly set human PR set numbers. If they're setting between 30 and 50, they're a C, okay? If they're setting 70, around 70, they're a B. If they're setting 90 or more, they're an A. And then we look at the DM set numbers. If they're setting less than 10, they're basically not even trying with the most important thing that they should be doing. And that's a problem. That's going to get a conversation, right? 10, 15, 20 AM staff set PR numbers between 10 and 30. And then our expectations for SMRA staff set numbers are 40 to 60 is where we want to be as an A. And then you can see the different ranges there. So, what are your expectations? What are your standards that you're holding people to in your organization as you build towards the program that you want to have in the summer? So, I started with 80% of our business is PRs, 80% of our business. If I were to go back 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was 55, 60%, 65, 70, 75. Now it's over 80%. In our Eastern region, 74% across the US, and that number is going to continue to rise. So holding yourself to having these standards, I think, is key, and making sure you're building those things the right way in your organization. So Trent, we're at 157. I got to jump here in like a couple minutes, but
I know we only have you for 2, but Ben, this is absolutely epic. I'm hoping you can slide me a copy of your slides. I'll put them in a handout folder and make sure everybody has access to that. Several people here, obviously, the new part of the year. We even wondered if January 26th was too early to start having the masterclass. So I appreciate those of you that were able to join us. We've had a high watermark of 30 attendees today, and many were able to join just kind of in progress. But if we have the slides, that would be great. We did start recording right about 107 Eastern time. I'll be able to keep going a little bit after Ben. So even though you've got a airlift, and again, we appreciate you being here. Please thank the PR task force for freeing you up right before their call. Questions that you have, folks, I think you can keep those going here on Facebook. And in the chat here, Ben himself, I'm sure, will either take a look or I'll put them in front of him, and we'll go from there. What an excellent masterclass, Ben. Thank you so much. I know for you, it might be, you might wonder if this is just the basics, blocking, tackling, fundamentals. And I saw a lot of like heads bopping, and even if this is review, this is excellent in terms of mastery. I have a sense here that some of us, I'm hoping you're not feeling guilty, because you're going, boy, I'd love to be getting D's right now, and I'm not even there. So I appreciate you putting this together and inspiring. What a great set of thoughts here. Well, we do have 60 seconds remaining here for Mr. Jackson. Any questions real quick?
Trent,
Go ahead.
I put the slides in a PDF version, and they're in your text inbox. So
Excellent.
I couldn't post them on the chat. I don't know if it's disabled to post a document, but
yeah, I'll have to work on that one. I wasn't able to do that yesterday either during your leadership day. So I'll post that as well, a link to that so they can download it on Dropbox, and we'll go from there. Questions there for Ben? We're out of time now. So listen, Ben, I again really appreciate you making some time here for us. I'll stick around a little bit afterwards. We'll stop the recording now, but what a great session. Not surprised, just really excited. Thank you for bringing the goods, Ben.
Thanks, guys. Great to meet some of you.
Talk soon, brother.
Cheers. Bye-bye.